Today I'm going to show you exactly how to build this cozy starter base in ARK Survival Ascended. You don't need any mods to build this one, it's just using the vanilla structures that are in the base game, as well as a few of the frontier skins from the Bob Tall Tales DLC. But those are definitely optional. You can make this work without it. You just have to make a few adjustments. It's a cozy yet functional starter base that should get you through the early days of ARK in a little styleful and cozy base with a decent amount of space to get your early storage and crafting going. Using mostly thatch materials as well as a little bit of wood, so you don't have to gather too much to get this little abode going. Hello there survivors, and welcome back to another build tutorial in ARK Survival Ascended. Today I'm going to show you exactly how to build this base for yourselves, and if you enjoy seeing videos like this and you want to continue to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, of course. Always really appreciate all the support, and of course feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds down in the comments below. We're building this one on pillars. That has the added advantage, of course, that you can build this pretty much everywhere because, well, you can always add more pillars if you're building on an uneven terrain. We want to start here with a nice thin wooden pillar here and then connect some ceilings to it, two going off to this side and two off to that side. Then we can connect a pillar up there as well as a pillar around the back there. We can continue with two more ceilings there and two more ceilings here on the front before, of course, adding in an extra pillar again. Then again, two more ceilings right there, and we can also make sure that this is two ceilings here on the front before we add in another pillar, and we can have two more, another pillar, two more ceilings, and then another pillar on that corner as well as on that corner there, and then continue this all the way through and add a pillar there in the middle for the added supports. Then we want to also make sure that this is too wide here. We want to make it too wide there as well as at the back, not yet here at the front, because we want to make sure that we add in some extra pillars down below just as some extra supports before we finish the ceilings all the way through. So in total, this part of the build is 4x6 as a shape. It's not the entire build just yet. We'll make a few more additions before we get there. We can take out our triangle foundations and one from the end. We can add them in, go out by two right here, then go across by, we're just counting those outside ones, and then bring it back in, and of course just fill in that entire section, which is going to create a nice little platform here on the front. We want to have some pillars right there on the corners to make sure that we have some supports, and then there is another addition here at the back right. We want to add in another triangle there, and we want to make a little circle all the way at the back. If you want to, you can add in an extra support right there in the middle. But we also want to make sure that we add them all around the build here. So kind of in all of those corners, we want to make sure that we have our pillars to give support to this part of the building. Then we also want to take out some railings, and we can actually add them underneath here as some supports just for this little circle that we have. So just as some extra details, we just want to have these upside down railings just because it looks a little bit nicer that way. And then what we want to do is we want to take out our thatch staircases and we want to add them in. So one right over there as an entrance, and then another one right over here, and another one right over there, so that we have some nice ways to get up to this platform. Then we can take out our thatch beams and we want to add them here around the front as a nice little ledge there. We can add two over here as well as two over there, and then kind of just circle all the way around this part of the building, except for this one in the corner. And then we can also go along this side here, and then also the remaining parts of the circle, except for here and over there, because those are going to be door entrances, of course. And then we can have some half beams right in here just to make sure that we have room for the door in the middle. And we want to add a few more details underneath here. We want to take out our shallow slope walls, thatch walls, and we can add them here underneath as some extra details. I like to flip them around for the nicer texture, and we want to add them right over there. We can also add them underneath there. We don't have to do them in the middle unless you really want to keep the consistency going. But right over here, of course, we will continue once again. Just again, as some extra nice details here to make this all look a little bit nicer and a little bit less flat and boring. So we just want to make sure that we add those in all the way around. Of course, we already have the supports underneath that circular bit, so we have all of it ready. And here around the front, we can also add in our upside down railings, so we can kind of just go around the platform like this. And we can actually also add normal railings on top here, so that we have that a little bit locked down. All right, so on the sides, we can add some pillars on the corners as well as in the middle. And we can do the same thing over here on the other side. So we just want to add those pillars in. Then over here, so after a gap of 2, we want to raise them up to be 2 high. And we can do the same thing here over on the opposite side, just to kind of shape up the building a little bit. And then here along the back, we actually also want to add in some pillars, so we want to have them right there and right over here, just to give a little bit more shape to this building already. And then we can change to our beams again. We can have beams going across over there as well as over here, just to shape up the building even more. And then we can take a look here at the back of the building. So first of all, we want to have our wooden wall right over there, as well as one over here. Then we can take out our windows. We can add 2 of them in there. We can have a nice small doorway right over there too. And then finally the double doorway right there connecting into the rest of the building. And of course, we can also add in our doors and windows. So right over here, of course, we can have our door, and then we can have our windows in the rest of these. Using thatch for these, just because I think that kind of connects nicely with the look we have. And it gives us access to this little side room. And we want to add a few more details for this side room, of course. First of all, we want to add a nice little roof by just adding in these thatch triangle roof pieces to create a little hut. And then right at the top of it, we want to have a nice wooden half pillar there, just to make it look a little bit nicer. Or alternatively, you could also, of course, go for the thatch one instead, if you want to stick to the same vibes as the rest of the building. And on the inside, if you want to add some additional details, what you can do is add in some of our railings, just because it looks now like it's being supported a bit more. Then here along the back, actually, we want to make a slight adjustment. We want to remove those 2 and just add these 3 ceilings right over here, where we also want to add in some thatch beams going around the edge over here, because we want to add a little bit of a nice window that sticks out. We will have the same kind of supports underneath again. Then we can have our normal walls right over there, as well as some more of these triangle roof pieces, because what we want to do is right over here, we just want to add these 3 like so. And of course, above that, we want to have our slope walls or wooden walls, but we want to flip them around so we can fill in the rest of this wall over here. And if you want to add additional details, you can, of course, add in some supports. You don't really need them over here, though. But to really take full advantage of this, you need the frontier skin with the glass option on these walls to get some nice windows. If you don't have the frontier skins, which are part of the Bob Tall Tales DLC, you can of course also just go for normal windows instead. Then we can continue the rest of this wall. We can have some more full walls here, of course, flipping them around. Then we can have a nice window right there in the corner. We can have some quarter walls right over here. And then, of course, we can have some slope walls going up and some more of these shallow slope walls coming down on the other side too, kind of to shape up the shape of the main building. And above this, we want to flip them around again and have our normal slope walls at the very top. And once again, we can use the frontier skin with the glass option so that we get this nice little window at the top of that wall to pretty much finish this side of the building. And of course, all we need to do then is add a nice little window in here so that we have that going on. But yeah, that's the back of the building looking complete over here. Then we'll continue on this wall where we want to have 2 windows right there in the middle. We can actually do the exact same thing over on the other side. And then of course some normal walls in the corners to fill that part in. And then of course we also want to take out our windows so that we have those completed. And then of course the same over here so that we have at least those little details going. And especially once you open them, it just adds a little bit extra 3D to those otherwise pretty simple walls. Then we want to take out our ramps, and we actually want to have 2 ramps over here, then 2 ramps in the middle, and then 2 more ramps over on that side. We'll leave this middle bit open for now. After that, we can actually take out our roofs. We want to have 1 roof here at the very end and another one right over there at that end of the building. And then here in the middle, we want to take out our roof corners and actually make a nice little addition like this. And of course, also add some normal roofs there again to make it stick out a little bit further. We want to take out our slope walls to fill in this part with 2 walls like this, and then skin them with the Frontier glass skins to get that nice little window once again. And then to fill in the gap, we want of course take out some quarter walls over here. And those quarter walls, we actually also want to continue here along the inside. So we just want to have them go on a little bit further. Here on the outside, of course, we can add in some beams, but we can also add in some half pillars just to give this all a little bit more structure. And then if we take out our thatch roofs again, we can of course add in some small details here by having these quarter roofs stick out. We can do the same thing here on the main part of the roof. And then for some extra details, we can also do that with the quarters here, just to make it stick out a little bit more. So we can kind of go all the way around the bottom here, just to add a bit more detail. And if you want to, you can do the same thing over here, of course. Give this all a little bit more shape. This is what you would do on unofficial. And if you do have clipping enabled, you can have, of course, 1 more, so that you can have them right there in the corners. And if you want to add some additional details, we can have some beams going across the top like this, sticking out at the ends, just to look a little bit nicer. And you can see that this side already is starting to look quite good indeed. Now for these roofs, what you want to do here on this side is still continue these ramps as far as you can. This is probably about as far as you can get on official. Unofficial, if you have clipping, you can of course continue a bit further. The same for this one. If you're unofficial, I would check if you can do this. If so, then you can add a little edge around this side building too. Otherwise, you're probably best off just ignoring this and just leaving it without. But it is a nice extra little detail and kind of ties together both roofs a little bit more if you can do that, depending on what kind of settings you play on. But now, of course, we have the front of the building left. So we want to start with these 2 walls. Then we want to add in all windows here at the very corners of the building before we fill in the rest. So we can have, once again, all quarter walls right there. We can also have some quarter walls here at the bottom, as well as the second variant, so that the door will fit in perfectly and line up completely. And then the final layer above it, we also want to fill in with some normal walls. And of course, we can add in some nice doors so that we have that completed look. And we can also, of course, add in the windows themselves so that this part is also completed. Adds a little bit of a 3D feel to it. And then we can take out those shallow slope walls, add them here along the sides, of course, to get this roof started. And then finally here at the top, we're going to flip those around and place our normal walls there. before of course changing these with the Frontier glass skin so that we get that little window in there. And then if we want to add a little bit more detail here on the front, what we want to do is have some pillars here at the very corners. Then we can take out our triangle roofs as well. And we want to bring this all the way back into the building itself. So all the way around this little front part. And then we want to have another layer here at the very top just to give a nice entrance here. And if you want to have some additional details, we can have some of these slope balls again flipped around so they face this way. And then we have some nice little bit of decorations and detail here for the front main entrance. And before we fill in the rest of the building, let's work a little bit here on the interior. We want to actually bring out these ceilings by 2 wide and 3 long, so they stick out a little bit like this, and then have 1 more right over there. Then we want to take out our thatch railings, add them in corners like this all the way around, as well as right over there, so that we can have a cozy little bedroom up here. Basically, we want to take out our thatch roofs and we want to change them to our stairs. We want to have a full staircase there before we take out the quarters here for the final bit. Then of course we can have our railing as well as our half railing at the very end to make sure that the staircase itself is also secure. Then we want to take out our thin pillars. We want to add one here and we can add them to be 2 high. Same over there, just as some extra supports. And then of course we can also do the same thing right over here. So we just want to add a few of these supports in so that we know that this is all being held up and supported, especially on that side, or at least it looks like it is, because technically I don't think it's actually giving any support, but it looks quite nice for the interior as well. It gives a little bit more structure going on here. And actually the floors I would all change to the Frontier skins if you have the options, because I like that wood texture a bit more than the normal wood, but of course it's your personal preference, whatever you like more. And once we've done that, that's pretty much all we need to do here on the interior. So we have, well, pretty much everything in place to finish the build now. We want to take out our normal roofs. We can, of course, go across that top layer just like this. Then we can take out our ramps and we can just fill this in all the way across this side of the building. We can take out our quarter roof pieces here just to add a bit more detail, and then our quarter ramps all the way around the edge of the building just to make sure that we have that little overhang and we have those additional details. And with that in place, we've got a beautiful and cozy little starter base for you to use in your ARK playthrough. And if you want some suggestions of what you could make this look like or make this look even more cozy, this is how I decorated the whole place. I'm on Ragnarok, by the way, but of course you can use this base wherever you want. But if you're wondering about this location in specific, it is located right over here on the map in Viking Bay. And you can see we've got a bunch of little decorations around here, from a bunch of storage options to the fishing crates, a little campfire here, and a bunch of little storage around the side, as well as a bit of water connected up to the side here, as well as a feeding trough just to provide you with whatever you need. We have the main entrance over here, of course, looking nice and cozy, and we've got the fireplace sticking out just as an additional detail. Then up here we have more of those random decorations just to make it look nice and cozy. We also have some of the decorations from the I think it's the Summer Bash event, which should be starting pretty soon, I suppose, like next month or something. But yeah, Summer Bash, you can get these really nice trophies, and I wish we just had these available all the time, because they're actually some of the best decorative options in the base game that they currently have. Then on the inside we have a cozy little area here to hang out next to the fireplace. We have a little bit of storage along the sides. We've got more of those trophies. We've got a library, got a cooking pot, a nice sofa to hang out with all of your little friends in the pet beds. And then we have more storage and crafting over on this side. So there's a decent amount of space here to definitely get you through the early stages. Then this little building here is a bit more crafting and storage and smelting, as you can see. And of course, an extra entrance, which is always convenient. And then of course at the top we have a nice and cozy bedroom with some more storage at the same time. So utilizing every little bit of this build. Yeah, quite a nice and cozy one. Shouldn't take you too many resources to build, and definitely should get you started in a very cozy way. There we go. That's going to be it for today's build tutorial. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and of course feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds you'd really like to see down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you again in the next video or the next stream. For now, goodbye.